I just want to say that based on the survey that we had in 2015, or I hope there's a big change. It's 2019 now. It's about 4 years old. But the very idea of having 54%, at some point had to hand over gifts, which shows that they have a lot to fear. So I don't know how many of us among us are, are totally prepared to just take on the Section 17A and do whatever that's necessary. That would be ideal, but I think in this case, ignorance is not a bliss, totally. So we have to definitely take steps to make sure that people understand, workshops, continuous discussions. And I believe this program today is just one of the many steps that we ourselves are also having difficulties, because there are questions that we are still looking at. In the UK, they have what they call the deferred prosecution agreement within the when they look into Section 17A and other losses or other offences which involves economic offences. They do have processes where that is why despite them having Section 7 in the UK Bribery Act, you do not actually see many prosecutions. So there are other methods of sorting it out, despite finding out the lack of adequate procedures. So these are the things that we need to deal with. Yes, I would urge not to look at Section 17A as purely punitive. It is actually part of the MACC Act to have both offences, punitive, and also features which are preventive in nature. So Section 17A should also be seen as a preventive measure. But having said that, I think in the previous policymakers and governments, we may have had a tendency to have everything as an offence. Possibly that's why we are left with this situation. But as far as the enforcers, such as MACC, we need to deal with the reality. The law is there, and it will be enforced, or it will come into force by June 2020. And we are trying to make it as fair as possible. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Criminal Procedure Code and also the Penal Code. But in those days, when we have the Penal Code, when there is an offence that is created, you will always see an illustration. What if A does to B, and what does B do to C? Is that an offence? So they will have examples. But that is lacking in the recent amendments of various offences. So we may have to actually give those illustrations to be placed in the offences, so in the Act. So I hope that would actually help lift, the fear or the paranoia revolving around Section 17. But we agree that this is something that needs to be done. We will set up I don't know whether you call it a task force, but definitely a committee to oversee and get all this feedback.